Hello, beautiful souls. So, how do you judge your enemies or your contenders or your lower aspects that are serving yourself here? How do you judge them without being the judgmental, evil perpetrators that they also are and not reflect them? And that's different for all of us. So I'm sharing again, not judging you, sharing. How do I need and want to do that to be the highest aspect of my own self, where I'm seeing I'm co-creator in this, and so I can see every time I made a turn, wrote a poem, expressed my art, I was forcing this upon the world and myself as a higher aspect of myself, not separate from that. And how was, as a co-creator in this reality, how do I judge the humans in a lower aspect than me? So the proper way to judge them isn't to cook up all these schemes about how God's going to come back and slay him and judge him and blah, 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 as you could do as your higher self and have a right to do. But do I want to perpetuate the cycle, or do I want the highest good? Now, if I have allowed a situation to get out of control, I have to trust that my Holy Spirit or my higher self is going to do what needs to be done, in the best way possible. So stepping out of the way when it comes to judgment is actually the strongest and most powerful way to judge, because your heart space literally, and your shield about you, the glory of your energy, your chi, the thing that lifts your head, that helps you not to be down, that is literally going to protect you the more you build it up and love it and are loving from the heart space. I've shared before how it makes the shield or the Merkava, the glory, the lifting of your head. And I use scripture from Christian stuff not to traumatize other people that have been traumatized, but because I use my traumas to force me to grow. I'm not telling you got to do that, but neither do I want to hear anybody's blah, 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 Christianity is so toxic, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's a tool, a 2,000-year-old tool that was supposed to be for those people at that time, and for us to be able to alchemize in the future, but we used it as a tool, well, the church did, to destroy us. So of course it's going to trigger you and make you mad. But how can you use it as an alchemical text in order to boot those jerks that have ruled over us for thousands of years and made us slaves in our own mind in Plato's cave? How can you turn that around and kick them in the you-know-what with it? How can you do that? You can, by being your own glory, the lifter of your own head, by coming, taking your head out of your own dark end and being so powerful and strong within yourself that all you really need to do is say, nothing's going to affect me, and stay in love. And yes, that's hard work and it takes work, but the more work you do on it, like anything else, the easier it gets. And when you fall, you get back up easier every time. And yes, it involves like diet and lifestyle and everything, but what I found works better for me than anything, because I have all these allergies and issues with eating anything, breathing anything in or any of that, is speaking over myself. And now I use those scriptures that were used against me, that were used to praise a God external to me. I use them to praise the God within, the energy within, to build it up. Why? Because if I had been taught ancient Nordic things, I would use the same words and scripts. But now, like I'm using Christianity scripts because I was forced to memorize that by the abusers, by the people in my lineage who didn't know what it was really about. So I use that as my own tool, sharp-edged tool, to chip away at my own self, but to build myself up. See, they used it to tear me down, but now I use it because God is the spirit in me. And so I am the glory and the lifter of my head. So with my mouth, I make praise unto God. I sing in psalms and hymns and spiritual songs and make melody in my heart to God. God ain't out there. God is in here. Or if your God is out there, it's one of those gods, and you're going to be like the religious people. You're going to act like them. And to me, this is all that the Luciferians are doing. They twisted the aspect of what the Hindu really originally was, the balance of the earth, the Naga, and the snake and the Leviathans and the dragons and all that. And they're taking that, twisting it and devolving it, just like Christians did with the script. So the more the script is devolved on one side, the more it is on the other. So there is no escaping when the world is in balance. We just cause each other more and more imbalance. So who do I want to be from my Godhead, from my higher self aspect, when these chakras are clear and I can see myself as the eternal creator of my own aura and energy and soul? You know, when I had to buy that soul back, I had to figure out that was my job to do those things. Not just to keep my self happy so that I could manifest, because that was not my end goal. My end goal was a spiritual goal, and so my life has been more spiritual. And yes, poverty should not be in my life, and I'm not condoning it, but I also put that last in order to push myself to heal. So don't judge people who are poor. It's none of your business. It's just not your business to judge another. Don't judge someone in their song, in their dance, in their what they eat and what they put on. You have no right to judge another. And when you take the energy of judgment, that blinding off the third eye and off your heart, then you can see, oh, how you can take all that energy from your enemies, and now you're the higher aspect, and now you're the winner. Not so that they can be the loser, but so that you can praise your eternal God self-being. That's the point. It's not win. When you win, or when anyone wins for the betterment of all, everybody wins, because we're all connected. And like I literally said to my ex when he talked to me this week, excuse me, I've got to hang now. When he talked to me this week, he started saying all the same old stuff, denying and triggering like all my partners have ever done. And I was just like, wow, thank you. Like, you really showed me and told me that I'm wasting my energy here. You're too blind. You're too stuck in this pattern. You want to be stuck in this pattern because you think it's eternity. You think it's your eternal self, but you've chosen this in this lifetime. And he's like, oh yeah, I chose my lower aspect so I could choose you. You're my higher aspect. You're my twin flame, blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, but they're using that as a lie and a degraded thing. But I'm using it in order to grow. I'm using it to become this person I never knew that could exist. This person who does not have chronic depression. This person who heals themselves of things people aren't supposed to be able to heal themselves of, which is really simple. It's just, you can. When you're in that lower aspect and you're really sick and whatever, you really feel like you can't. But you've got to put aside your feelings then and start with your praise and worshiping of God. Right here. Bowing to the Atman Guru. Everything you'd say to that God out there that you worship and you give your energy to so you can manifest a little thing here and there and trinkets from your gods. When you worship that within you and know that you are that the gods and the goddesses have 10,000 names, not 72, not this religion, that religion, they're you. You're them. No separation. And that takes time to comprehend. That you can stick a name on God and give it certain aspects, upper or lower dimensional aspects, war gods or, storm gods or whatever. But in the end, it's you. In the end, it's you going on eternally with your own soul. So you can't blame the archetypes here. You cannot ask the archetypes here. You've got to bow to your own soul, and this heart space has got to crack open or you ain't going to change. 9/11. I see that number all the time, which is why I brought up in the other video the 11/1119 when the Templars started. If you turn that date around, it is 9/11/2001. I think I forgot to mention that because I hop all over when I do videos. I'm always sort of in a hurry because I don't have time to myself. And I hope, soon enough that won't be an issue. And I don't hope and have faith. Faith is a thing you can taste, touch, hear, smell, say over yourself and become. So, and you can only do that from a place of non-judgment and non-duality, not them and us. And there is them in us, but you heal them in us by healing you. If you're the God, if you're the higher aspect, if you're the higher twin flame, if you're the higher alchemical partner, you will force that person through hell. They will have to go through everything you went through in order to change themselves. I hope for my person it isn't as hard, but they're coming up from a further lower place even than I had to be. They were my predator. They were my lower aspect. They were, my Kundalini, and I was their higher self. So yeah, it's just, it can be done. I don't want to doubt it. I don't want to think about how far their journey has to be in so short of a time. Or I'll lose my way here. And I don't want to do that for myself, for God within me, for my eternal spirit, nor theirs. So I have to say, wow, and thank you. When they say something twisted in order to pull me down, I have to flip it around and send it back to them and be like, they're saying that about themselves. Stop putting it on you, Sheila, and getting angry and projecting. They're really saying a truth. They just don't know they're really saying a truth because they're malicious with their truths. Yet at the same time, they know they're real. They know that they're a lower dimensional aspect here. And we each, have different levels of evolution. I worked with the Fae. Before I knew any of that I was actually doing it. It's my family line, Leviathan line, the middle, lower earth realm, the Fae, the fairies. It's not escaping it. It's all the same thing. But I actually met that person. I actually met those beings. I actually worked with those beings. And so can't deny that it doesn't exist. It's why I tell people, hey, I lost my brains and my mind finding out that fairy tales were actually really real. And when you find that out, you'll go crazy. Or you'll shut yourself off from the world and go into your own little space and not want to believe that it actually exists until our shadow collective gets so great that the whole world's messed up and we're going to have to deal with it. War or not, poverty or not, manifesting or not. So all you manifestors, are you going to be able to manifest 1 million buckets of food when you can't manifest $1 million? How many are going to be able to do that? I hope a lot. I hope we will all be Christ-like for each other then. And that's why I'm doing this change. Because maybe I'm not good at manifesting $100 a day like I used to, like this, because I needed to change that and make it a higher aspect than what I was looking at it as before. I'm not condoning poverty or loss or lack, because if and when I do that, I am projecting that into the future of everybody. So for me, I have to continue to stay in this holier than thou aspect where I am responsible for everything, because that's how it is to be God. It's not a projection of, oh, God judged this and that Yahweh is evil and that Tyre is either evil, Mars, Tyre, or Odin, or those other gods, and I hate the God of that time, but I'll pick and choose the God of this time, and God's one, God's us. Sorry, I just got a message in from my daughter. So yeah, it's just amazing to put all that on yourself and feel no guilt, because you will feel no guilt when the heart space is open and you love yourself. God's within you. You clear the lower chakra and you are responsible for the demons you let in. Even if there's somebody else's incubi, succubi, whatever. Why? Because you suck that thing. You become the force. When you take over that, you bring balance to the Leviathan, the demonic world. You bring balance to the demonic world. And they want that just the same as you do, even if they think they don't, say they don't, whatever. An imbalanced person doesn't want you to help them. If you think of mental illness, a lot of people, yeah, the meds work, but they don't want to take the meds because they don't feel like they're them, because they can't get in touch with who they are. And I believe it's the same with the demonic realm. They're just out of balance. They also want saviors. They also want help. They also want to be balanced. So when you get into your higher self, and I'm not talking about the new age fad stuff that's turning into a religion again. Taste not, touch not, handle not, don't say Voldemort's name. I'm not her. I can't be that. Thank my God. I want to be hyper spiritual because I am that. I am responsible for me. And when I come into that place of balance, that other person, if they're attached to my energy and their demons and their succubi and all that, they also have to transmute. And some of them have gotten really fricked up because of it. But you know what? I don't regret any of it because I was growing, because they were growing, and because they're being forced to grow because they thought it would be funny to latch onto my energy and take my life force and say, see, Shirley, you don't appreciate your higher self, so we're going to demote you. We're going to laugh in your face. We're going to bring you down. We're going to take your life force. We're going to be demons on earth for you, to you, in you, by you, for you. Thank you for serving me. You will get to a place in your forgiveness where you thank them for serving you, and then you take your power back via your heart space, and that's it. You got the power back, and you've just balanced the demonic realm. And we all need to do that. And there are way too many toxic religious people, whether that be shamans or Christians or Nordics or Scandinavians or isms or anities of any kind. It's why I talk about being an alchemist and a spiritual anarchist, because everything's twisted, because people are growing and we twist things and we like the easy button. We like the easy path. We want it handed to us. And when you do that, and when you force your own growth, for some of us, we don't get the easy button. We're not the easy button. You know, we're going to do it. We're going to do it in this lifetime. Then we're going to do it in this lifetime. And we make ourselves suffer. We can't blame the other because the other is imbalanced and fricked up. And do we want to be like them? Do we want to save them? Well, in order to save them, you got to oxygen first. You got to save yourself. You got to become whole and not look back, because if they were meant to follow you, they follow you, which is one of my messages about twin flames I gave in October. And then, you know, I let my person back into my life when I met the spirit at the mounds and freaked myself out. So, you know, this is my story, and I peel the onion apart to show you in the center is nothing. You peel the whole onion apart, there's nothing, not even the seed anymore, because it bloomed. And you are that. You are the flower here blooming. And do you want to let someone else take that life force, or do you want to tear yourself down till you're just spirit? And you're in control of what it is to be God. And you decide your fate here, and nobody else does. And I don't mean that in a way of manifesting physical. I mean that when you know, when the mind is out of the way, the ego, and the higher self is able to shine its light down on the soul, then that heart and soul space is ignited, which is a physical, mental, and spiritual aspect. People will tell you here everything's mental, but no, it's not. It's all of that, because the mental creates. And this biology is so that we can create with. So we all have to meet our lower and higher selves through experience, tactile experience here, because that's what we came here for. If we came here to save ourselves, we know that there is some aspect of us that is lost here. And so that's why we want to help others. And religion says help, do, blah, blah, blah. But until you do you, until you know that the higher self is never going to see the truth until that ego is removed, you put the oxygen mask on first and you wake up to the reality, because you can breathe now and see and feel now, and you're not discombobulated now. You have to learn, as the Bible says, do not love this world, do not love anything in this world. It's literal. Because until you can learn to do that, the love of the Father, the higher self, the light, cannot shine down into the darkness of the soul to ignite, you know, all of this so that you can change. The biblical passages are talking about alchemical processes that you can do with yourself. So stop looking at them in fear, or switch scripts. Go to the Hindu scripts. But don't get caught up in the script, because then you lose you into the story, and you project yourself into that, and that God and that situation and that dream takes your energy. Cut off all the pendulum, I always say. Like the book Tufti the Priestess, which I put in my about information, so you guys can look into it. I did not read the whole thing. I skim read. I absorb what Spirit says. Hey, you need this. Hey, you need that. Because I used to be an avid book reader and literally would go through my whole library and then interlibrary loan. Like, I was an avid sponge of learning, and that's why other people wanted my energy and life force and knowledge and wisdom too, and they got it. So guess what? They also have to alchemize. So those of you that know you have oneness, don't do it for the other. Do it for you, because God is in you. And until you do it for you, you don't do it for the other. You don't do it in love from a God space out. And I didn't know that. I didn't know how to do that, and I had to learn. So I learned, and I'm thankful that I learned. And I'm not going to praise my enemies and lift them up, except for right through here. When I praise, honor, and glorify, and sing psalms and hymns and spiritually bless myself and make melody in my own heart to God, to the God that's in me, my heart space literally explodes open. And angels come down, meaning the higher self comes down, and I am ministered to, and the shield goes up, and the Merkava is activated, and then enemies not only can't touch you, they have to stay away from you. And they have to alchemize too. So you can do that in a God judgmental way, and being like the Old Testament Yahweh, the undeveloped God of the mind, the old warring, law-making, life force taking God. Or you can choose to be the in Christed being, meaning the seed within, not the Bible one. Though that's an example of the possibility of something we could be if we only believed we were and could be it. So thank you for sharing your time with me.